Hello, welcome back to the video store. As you can see, that's where I'm at today. Um, hadn't made a video in a while, so I think I'm gonna do the whole Godfather trilogy in one video. Cause A, I haven't done a video in a while, so why just do one movie? And B, if I wait too long, I'm gonna forget everything I want to say about them anyway. So we'll just jump right into the reviews. Yeah, I know I shaved my head during the winter. What had happened was I looked on YouTube and I was gonna cut it a little bit, give me like a high and tight kind of haircut. So I messed that up. So then I looked up how to do a faux hawk, thinking I could salvage it and do that. But I went too far up on the back, messed that up. So then I just ended up shaving my head because there was no going back once I shaved too far up. So now I am pretty much bald in the middle of winter, but it's fine. My hair grows pretty quick. Anyway, so on to the review of the Godfather trilogy. Of course, we'll start with part one. Even though I've heard, never found it, but I've heard there's a version of the Godfather that takes part one and two and puts them together in chronological order, and I'd really like to watch it that way. But I have the original versions of the movies and the trilogy Blu-ray, and finally got to watch all three of them on Blu-ray. Because a friend of mine hadn't seen them, and I was like, need to watch them, um, and I want to watch them anyway. So of course, we'll start with the first one, which happens to be my favorite. I know almost everybody else likes part two better than part one, but part one's my favorite. And not only is part one my favorite, I think there are scenes that is a couple is best directing. Like I prefer Godfather even over Apocalypse Now. I don't think there's another Francis Ford Coppola movie that I like better than The Godfather One. And I'll try and remember to point out the scenes that I'm talking about because there are some just really good scenes. For instance, the way the movie opens, like it opens at a wedding, and like the first dialogue we get is like a member of the community that is obviously Italian, and he's just talking. We don't know at first who he's talking to, but of course I do because I've seen the movie a million times. But so the wedding is for Don Corleone's daughter, played by Talia Shire. You'll know her from the Rocky movies as Rocky's wife, who's also, I think, Coppola's sister or something like that. I know she's kin to him. But so this guy's talking to the Godfather during his daughter's wedding, and the guy is giving the speech about how he came over here to America with nothing and raised his daughter to be American and be just as American as anybody else, and but not to dishonor her family. And then she goes to the movies with this guy who's a white American, and he assaults her and damages her pretty good. Makes it where this guy won't be able to have grandchildren. So he's come to Don Corleone seeking what he sees as a vengeance, which he wants um, the people responsible. He wants them killed. And right off the bat, I like Don Corleone, played by Marlon Brando. First off, he goes, this is the first time you've been to my house. You know, your wife is friends with my wife, yet, you never really talk to me. Like you come in my house on the day my daughter's to be married and you ask me to do murder, and you don't even have the respect to call me Godfather. So, so right off the bat, you get to know that respect is a big deal to to Don Corleone, the Godfather. I'd say it's the most important thing. Um, I don't think, and this will be explained more in part two. I don't think Don Corleone even values profit and money over respect, and that's one thing I do like about him. He is, I mean, obviously a bad guy. I mean, he's a mobster. You know, they do have people killed for business, but that being the way of the beast, the way they operate, it all comes down to respect. And what I like about Don and eventually Michael is, unlike Sonny, which we'll get into Sonny, they do think strategically and they do think business first. They Don even more so than Michael. Don Corleone could put aside emotions and vengeance and a lot of things for the greater good of the family. And we'll get into that in this movie actually later. So anyway, in this scene, it just seems like since this is a big get together, a whole bunch of people is talking to Don Corleone that wouldn't normally. So this guy asks for vengeance. You know, Don Corleone says, "Your daughter's still alive. Killing them isn't vengeance." And he says, "We'll make them suffer as she suffered." And Don Corleone says, "Okay, but there may come a day, it may never come, that I will need a favor from you, you know, and if I come to you, you have to do me this favor." He finally calls him Godfather, kisses the ring, whatever, respects the guy, walks away, and we right away take it as fact that those guys are going to get punished. I mean, there's no doubt. Something about Marlon Brando and his cotton stuffed cheeks in this movie, you never get the feeling that he's ever lying to anybody. So we get some more people coming in asking for things. Um, we see this big galoot, like really dumb guy just sitting outside practicing the speech. We later learn that his name is Luca Brasi. Now, when Michael and Kay come to the wedding, we find out who Luca Brasi is. Hold on, we're getting a delivery. I'll be right back. Hello, I'm back. Sorry, we had a delivery from Amazon. Video store clerk's job is never done, folks. So anyway, yeah, when Kay and Michael arrive at the wedding, Al Pacino and Diane Keaton, Pacino is in military clothes. Looks like army fatigues almost, but you know that era's army fatigues. Pretty much just like a jungle green type deal. No, none of that pixelated camo we have these days. But so anyway, so they go and take their seat at the wedding at this little table. We see some people come over and you know, happy to see Michael introduce ourselves. We later find out it's his um, older brothers. Like Michael's the youngest. I always thought he's the middle child, and I'll get to why later. But these are both his older brothers, Sonny and Fredo. And they're happy to see Michael. We get the feeling they don't see him often. Smoking my cigarette off screen because I don't know how YouTube is about cigarettes. Anyway, so we see that they're happy to see Michael. Get the feeling that they don't see Michael much, maybe because he's in the military, maybe because during the talk with Kay we find out that He has no intentions of being in the family business. Seems to really have a disdain for the family business, but through their conversation, we find out who this big galoot is. That's rehearsing what he's going to say to the Godfather. He's Luca Brasi. And then we see this guy singing who is related to Michael, therefore related to the Godfather, related to Sonny, related to Fredo. And he's singing, and Pacino tells Kay, that's our cousin Johnny or something like that. And, he's a singer, and my father is his godfather. And he goes to tell him about how the singer that's related to him was in a contract with this musical company, and he wanted to get out of it because he had the potential to make more money, but the music studio, had him an ironclad contract, was going to get their money's worth out of it. So the story goes like Don Corleone, the Godfather, Marlon Brando, goes to see this guy, tells him he'll give him $10,000 or so to get Johnny or whoever out of the contract. Studio exec says no. Well, the next morning, or the next day rather, Don goes back with Luca Brasi. And somehow the singer gets out of the contract for $1,000. Of course, Kay, like us, is like, well, why did the guy take $9,000 less or whatever to drop the contract? This is where Al Pacino explains, my father made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Luca Brasi held a gun to the man's head, told him that either his signature or his blood was going to be on that check, and the guy went with his signature and released the guy from his contract. So now we know who this big galoot is. So when Tom Hagen, which is the consigliere, which is an adopted son of Don Corleone, played by Robert Duvall, like a kid that Sonny brought home one day, and he must have been a stand-up guy because he is, pretty much a blood brother to Sonny and Michael and Fredo, and the Godfather treats him, like his legit son. He'll never run the business, but we'll get to it. So, Tom Hagen says Luca Brasi's here. He wants to, talk to you. And even the Godfather's like, man, do I have to? But, the guy like Luca, he does some dirty work for the family. So, of course, Luca Brasi comes in there and just your stereotypical henchman. He's just kind of dumb, big dumb guy. But anyway, so then we have dancing. We see that Sonny likes to sneak off and get extracurricular action outside of his marriage. That'll come into play in other movies. So anyway, so from the beginning we gather respect is important to the Godfather. Everybody wants something from the Godfather pretty much. We also see that like FBI or reporters and all kind of people showed up to take pictures of all these powerful people at this wedding, and we see that they send their people to get the film. They don't want to, they don't want to be seen together, because I get the feeling from the scene, I think is what it's saying, is it's okay for like the press and the police to assume that these people are connected, but they don't want the proof out there, And even some people that aren't like mafia, they're in good with the family, which is a big part of this movie. So, and it is a cigarette, it's not, so like, if you're a senator or something, you don't want to be in the paper, senator, attends mafia don's daughter's wedding, So for a lot of reasons, they don't want pictures getting out. And of course, Sonny, we see right away, he's the hot-headed of the Corleones. He, attacks the people with the cameras, takes the film, smashes it, smashes the camera. So we get kind of a hint of his character. But anyway, so we go through the wedding. The main thing we take away from this is Michael Corleone Pacino doesn't wanna he doesn't want to be part of the family. He doesn't. I don't think it's here, but there is a flashback at some point where we find out that the Godfather had arranged for Michael to go to law school. And the assumption you draw from that is Michael would probably take over for Tom Hagen, because Tom Hagen is a lawyer that has only one client, and that's, the Corleone family. But of course, Michael not wanting to be part of the family, he's talking about the war, and they're like, well, if you feel so passionate about it, why don't you join the military? And he then says, I did. And we see there Sonny snaps, wants to fight him. Dad paid for your school. You're supposed to be a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. It's disrespectful. Of course, all the more level heads in the room take up for him. I think this is in part two, actually, because I think this is the scene that they couldn't get Marlon Brando back for. But anyway, it ties into this movie, so, Sonny was always the hothead. Michael never wanted to be part of the family, and kind of everybody else around was peacemakers. So, but that's the vibe we get in the opening of this movie. That everybody else is there to kiss the ring of the Godfather, and Michael's there for his sister's wedding, and that's it. But of course, we wouldn't have a trilogy if that's how things stayed. So, we get into what is pretty much the plot of this movie, and I really like the plot of this one. So we have this other mafia guy. I believe he's a Tattaglia, head of the Tattaglia family. But of course, he's connected with other families and all kind of stuff. But he has a meeting with Don Corleone, Marlon Brando, Vito. And he meets with Vito, he meets with Tom Hagen, the concierge, and Sonny's there. So the meeting, in a nutshell, this guy wants to deal narcotics. He wants Don Corleone's connections, judges, cops, lawyers, that kind of thing. So for protection, to keep his people dealing out of trouble. And that's another reason I like Don Corleone a lot. He pretty much tells the guy, yeah, I have powerful friends, but if I start dealing in narcotics, I won't have powerful friends much longer. They'll turn their eye to alcohol, gambling, and women, but narcotics, not so much. So even with a significant return on investment, Don Corleone says, nah, I can't get into the drug game. And Sonny speaks up like, to the contrary, like, there's some money to be made in this white powder or whatever. And, of course, during the meeting, Don's like, you see, I spoiled my children, But pretty much Don Corleone shuts it down when it's just the family again. Vito tells him, never say what you're thinking to anybody outside the family. So, we get a little bit more insight into Vito. Play it close to the vest. If you've got something to say about business that goes against my wishes, wait till we're alone, keep it in the family. So, just subtle things that Coppola has in the movie tells you a whole lot about the dynamics of Vito. So this is what really gets the plot going. He won't play ball. He won't open up his powerful, contacts to this drug ring, and this puts into motion. Since Sonny spoke up, hey, this could make us some money. Tatalia's like, hey, if we get rid of Vito, Sonny, he's ready to go in. We take Vito out. We got the obstruction out. We'll be in good with the Corleone family, and we'll be rolling. So the regular guy that drives Vito, kind of his bodyguard, calls in sick. Fredo becomes his driver for the day, and of course, somebody shoots Vito Corleone, attempt to take him out. And at this point, they'd already sent Luca Brasi to infiltrate the Tattaglia family, to say he was mad at the Corleones and wanted a job with them to kind of see what was up in that operation. So they go to assassinate Vito. As soon as Luca goes to them to get a job, they know what's up. They take out Luca. The thing is, though, Vito lives. He's in the hospital. And we find out that the Tattaglia guy does have a connection with a police chief, and gets all of Vito's protection pulled. And Al Pacino shows up at the hospital and realizes it, moves his dad to a different room. This guy comes to pay his respects to Vito. So him and Pacino pretend to be like bodyguards in front of the hospital, and won't let the people there to kill him pass. Well, here comes the police chief, who set all this up for Vito to be killed. And Tom Hagen shows up and says, hey, if you remove these guys, you'll be in court tomorrow, because here's a, paper saying that they have the right to be here. Of course, Pacino asked the chief something about how much did they pay you to kill my father, and the police chief punches Pacino. And it's a bad move, but I don't think it plays as big a part as it seems to in what goes down. The thing is, their hit on Vito failed, so he's not taken out. So their goal wasn't accomplished. Now they know, especially with Sonny running things, that there will be pretty much a war. There will be retaliation, because you don't try and take out the head of any family that's a made man without retaliation. So they're trying to nip in the bud. Sonny will not level with them, even though Tom Hagen, the concierge, was like, "This is business, Sonny. This isn't personal. We can't do a war right now. Your father's in the hospital. Blah blah blah." And Michael, this is where he steps up. He's like, get them a meeting with me. We'll find out where it's going to be. Y'all plant a gun in the bathroom, because they're going to frisk me when I come in. During the conversation, I excuse myself to the bathroom. I'll get the gun. I'll kill them both. And even Sonny's like, oh, you're going to kill them. This ain't like shooting, people miles away in a war. This is point blank, boom, boom, And Michael's like, you just make sure the gun's there or whatever. So we see that since Michael knows that if these two especially live, his dad's dead. They have to take him out. No matter what agreement they come to, what peace is made, they tried to kill Vito. Even if the peace is real, they'll never believe it. They're going to try and kill Vito. So Michael, they agree. Michael goes to meet him at a restaurant. They frisk him. He talks to him. About halfway through dinner, he goes to the bathroom, gets the gun, comes out, sits down for just a minute, hears enough, stands up, boom, boom, shoots the chief of police, boom, boom, shoots the Tattaglia guy. Witnesses, everything, drops the gun, leaves. He goes to Italy. He's got to hide out for like a year or more. Of course, at this point, we see, the Don's getting better. He's not 100%. Sonny's pretty much running it, pretty much, but Don and Tom are, chatting and keeping everything calm. So during all this, we get to see that the guy that the Don's daughter married, he's a philanderer, and he's anytime Talia Shire confronts him, he beats her. Sonny finds out. Sonny kicks his butt. So we got that going on. Well, while Michael is hiding out in Italy, he gets married to an Italian girl because he can't even contact Kay. He can't contact anybody because if anybody finds out where he is, not only could the cops, find him or whatever, but the people connected to Talia and the chief of police would have him killed. So during all this, Sonny beats up Talia Shire's husband, tells him, "You ever touch my sister again, I'll kill you." And then things go down, and he beats the ever-loving crap out of Talia Shire. Sonny goes to make good on the promise because he put his hands on his sister again. Well, Sonny gets, like, these cars stop in front of him and behind him at a toll booth where he can't leave, and people just open up fire with machine guns and just, they just turn Sonny into burger meat. So this is one of my favorite scenes. Sonny gets, like ravaged by bullets. And we see Don go to the man from the opening scene of the movie. He was an Undertaker. Vito avenged his daughter. So Sonny goes there, or Vito goes there with Sonny's dead body. Tells the Undertaker, "Here's the favor. Look what they did to my boy. Make him presentable. Don't let his mother see him like this." So the funeral is the favor that the guy's paying back to the Don. So, in this scene, you see the Godfather break down and cry, kiss his dead son. You see he really... Sorry, had a customer. Work's never done at a video store. Anyway, so where was I? Okay, yeah, so we see that, Don loves his son, crying over the loss of Sonny. We see he's not a callous person. This isn't all money and business for him. This is making sure his family is taken care of, that his family has a living, And he's, really broken up by Sonny dying. But this really makes me like Don Corleone. He calls a meeting of all the heads of the families right after his son dies. Right after they've killed his son, he calls a meeting and he tells the heads of the family, yeah, I told the guy I wouldn't be involved in narcotics, and I still won't. But let's make a peace, and there will be no retaliation for Sonny. I've lost a son. You've lost a son. I will not be the one to break the peace here. But he says, I have a son who has to hide right now. and if something should happen to him, if lightning should come out of the sky and strike him, or we're in the works of getting him brought back home, if something was to happen there, I will forget the peace we made today. You know, and whoever's running this meeting is like, okay, there will be peace, but you do have to, share your powerful contacts with us. Blah blah blah. They hug him and who he's making peace with. They hug. Meanwhile, in Italy, there is an attempt on Pacino's life. I think it was before this, because this doesn't. There's no retaliation for this in this movie. But Pacino got married to an Italian there. She's wanting to learn how to drive. Well, they're planning to do something. She goes to drive the car to impress him, and it explodes. And then, like, he sees his bodyguard, hollers for his bodyguard, and his bodyguard runs off. So you know that he's the one that rigged the car and betrayed Al Pacino. But then Al Pacino comes back home and all that. So Pacino comes back home. Sonny's dead. Fredo can't run things. Tom can't really be the Godfather because he's adopted. So little by little, Pacino is taking care of the business. And eventually he finds Kay and try to explain to her, it's my father, it's my family. What was I supposed to do, Kay? I'm still not like them. And just some, you know, some great dialogue where she's like, I thought you didn't want to be part of this. You didn't want to be like your father. And he's like, my father is like any other great man, a president or whatever. And she's like, presidents don't have people killed. You're not. Do you realize how naive you sound? Presidents don't have people killed. And he says, now who's naive, Kay? Just some, great dialogue. But this still isn't one I think. This isn't the scene that I think is one of Coppola's best scenes, though. But man, dialogue and story, this is just top notch. So yeah, Michael's running things, but Don even knows it's not over. Um, because of what Michael's doing, he doesn't want them to take out certain people. He doesn't want them to do certain business that would kind of impede on these other people because Michael has a plan. Well, two people that started with Don always, he always told them that one day they'd start their own family. And they come to Michael, want to know when they can. He tells them, after we move our operation to Vegas, then you can start your own family. Well, Don knows something's going down. He knows that the peace isn't going to stand, and he says, whoever comes to you with the meeting, that's who's betrayed you. That's how you'll know. They'll be the one to come to you and set up the meeting with. I think it's the head of the Tatalia is still there. The other guy was just the henchman. So, of course, there's the famous scene where Vito's playing with his grandson, and he has a heart attack, and he dies. So, the bullets couldn't take out Vito. Vito dies of a heart attack. And at the funeral, I think it's Clemenza's his name, but it's the dude that was born old. I can't think of his name now, but he's in Look Who's Talking as Travolta's dad. He's just always old, always old. But he comes to Pacino at the funeral and says so and so wants to have a meeting. He knows, and we know now that that's the one that set him up. That's the one that betrayed him. So this is where it gets into why I think it's Coppola's best movie. This piece of direction. Pacino is going to become the Godfather to his sister's kid. You know, the one that was at the wedding at the beginning, the one with the abusive husband. He's going to be baptized as godfather to the kid. What's really cool is as he's being baptized to be the godfather, he's setting in motion all these like heads of the families and people against him are just being assassinated by his people. So they're like asking Pacino, "Do you renounce Satan and all his works?" And he's like, "Yes." And boom, we see somebody get killed. So it's just really cool juxtaposition of, he's taking these kind of religious oaths to not do evil, to not, do the works of the devil, while meanwhile he's having people killed all over the city. Just really good directing. The best way you could really set that scene up, really. So then he gets done with the baptism. All these people are taken out. He takes his sister's husband like he's finna give him a job or something, and he's figured out that guy set up Sonny. So he tells his sister's wife, his sister's husband rather, that he's gonna send him away, and he'll never be part of the family, and blah blah blah. And then when he gets in the car thinking he's getting sent away, they just take him out. So the day he was baptized to be his niece or nephew's godfather, he killed their father. Killed his sister's husband. So, and what's awesome, the movie, it's wrapping up. We go back to the Corleone compound, pretty much, and we also see that guy that betrayed him. He thinks he's getting ready to get Michael and go to the meeting, and they put him with a bunch of guys that's gonna make sure he's sleeping with the fishes. So we go back to the Corleone compound, and Michael's conducting business, kind of like his father was doing at the beginning. And then Talia Shire busts in, screaming and crying. You killed my husband, blah blah blah. And you're hysterical. Why would I do that? I wouldn't make my nephew or whatever bastard or whatever. So he's trying to say he didn't have nothing to do with all that. And then they pull her out, get her out of there, and Kay asks him, is it true? And he's like, never asked me about my business. And she keeps asking. He's like, this is one and only time that I'm gonna let you ask me about my business. And she asks him, did you have your sister's husband killed? And he tells her no. And Diane Keaton's a good actress. You get that she wants to believe it, so she believes it. But deep down, we know she knows he's lying. But at this point, she still wants to believe he's not a gangster. He's not who his family was. But we know he's almost, he's more willing to take people out than maybe even Vito was at the end. So we know he's completely there. So again, just great directed by Coppola. The movie ends with the the people that still are loyal to the family, you know, accepting Pacino as the Godfather, kissing the ring, Kay looking into the office, and the door closing. That's how the movie ends, and it's just a perfect ending because he's became part of the family. He became what he never wanted to become, and now we see she's, you know, they're shutting the door. She's pretty much lost to him now. He's lost to her, she's lost to him. And I mean, even if there weren't sequels, we could pretty much guess where this is going because, you know, they both are people they never wanted to be now. Him a gangster, her the wife of a gangster. So, so yeah, Uh, just to me, start to finish, great story. Um, Definitely my favorite of the three. We'll get into what my second favorite is and all that, but yeah, Godfather One, I give it 5 stars. Definitely love it, start to finish. I love it. Love every bit of the story. Love every actor cast, every character, every role. And I didn't even get into the sad story of the singer guy wanted a part in a movie. The director wouldn't give it to him because he stole a woman from him, and the infamous horse head in the bed as the offer he can't refuse. Just just so much in this movie. Great character building in this movie. I mean, sets up Vito Corleone, but really sets up what the Corleones are about. And Fredo, he never could have run the family, even though he's the middle son. Sonny probably, oh man, it would have been hard to keep Sonny from running the family. So if he hadn't been killed, he'd have probably ran the family into the ground because he's too hot headed. He can't put business above personal. So I think Michael's a great mixture of Vito and Sonny. Like he's not afraid to do what needs to be done, but he's smart enough to do it because of business and to prevent what's going to happen if you don't. So yeah, just a hell of a way to set up Michael Corleone as the Godfather. All right, I'm going to take a little break, pause this, and then I'll come back with part two. But that's a lot of talking. I'm going to take a break for a minute, but I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Now time for Godfather 2. Everybody's favorite. Definitely not my favorite. You heard part one's my favorite. What's really going to blow people's minds, this isn't even my second favorite. Godfather is my least favorite. Godfather 2 is my least favorite in the Godfather trilogy. And that mainly has to do with the flashbacks. I mean, we're already in a period mafia movie. But then we go even further back to Vito Corleone's start. The movie even starts in Corleone, in Italy, and we find out they had a completely different name. I forget what it is because I hate the flashbacks. I just do. But we find out that whoever the mafia guy is over there has killed Vito's father and has killed his brother and is about to kill Vito, but Vito's like mute and scrawny, and the mother's begging him not to kill him. Well, Vito runs away and they kill his mom. So now this dude has killed his whole family but him. And he runs away and he somehow, gets on a boat to America. He ends up in New York. Because he's mute, when they go to log him in, they say, he's Vito from Corleone, and they write that down as his name, Vito Corleone. I'm just going to go through the entire flashbacks first because, they're peppered throughout the movie. Some of it's foreshadowing what's going on with Michael, but not to the point where they had to go to the extent they do. But we see, Vito grow up into Robert De Niro, Vito Corleone. And he's living in this poor apartment with his wife, and we see the birth of each of his kids. And we see that he works at like this small store, but there's this gangster that's pretty much taken from the already poor in the neighborhood, and Vito doesn't like that. So we see Vito and Clemenza and the other guy starting the Corleone family. And they're telling him we just need to go along and pay this guy, and Vito's not having it. Vito takes it upon himself to kill the guy, and then he starts running things. People find out who he is and who he killed, and they fear him, start respecting him, bringing him stuff. But this is where we start seeing how he likes to do for people in need and just accept favors and not payment. So it's really setting up the Vito we know from part one. But with Vito being dead, it's kind of like, well, why didn't they set this up in the first one? I don't know. Anyway, so that's pretty much the gist of the flashbacks, is showing the rise of Vito. I do, however, enjoy the part of the movie that deals with Michael in the current day. But with all the flashbacks, you kind of feel like you get kind of either a rushed or short shrift version of what's going on in Michael's life. So this review will not be near as long as the part one review, because really and truly, some parts of it's a little convoluted, because we have Michael who wants to move to Vegas. There's like a senator, somebody that Michael needs the cooperation of, that's not willing to give him the cooperation, and he's pretty much let him know, you're gonna, because I'm gonna give you an offer you're not gonna refuse, kind of like Vito did with the record people and the director. And we do see what comes of that. The senator frequents one of their brothels, and it's never really blatantly said, but it's heavily implied that they like knock him out and then take out one of the girls to make it look like he did, and then they come in there and pretend like they're going to clean it up and keep him out of trouble and all that. Hold on a minute. I think there's a customer. All right, I'm back. I had a customer. So anyway, I think I was talking about how, yeah, I like the Michael story, but because of the flashbacks, and it is the longest Godfather. The first and third are the same length. This one's longer. But I don't know. The Michael story, even though I really like it, it does get convoluted. Basically, the storyline is Michael is continuing the idea from part one to move to Vegas and I guess start dealing in casinos, hotels, and entertainment, such like that. And apparently, the way he's going about getting to Vegas, getting stuff from one guy, he don't care for it. And there's an attempt on Michael's life, and we find out Fredo was involved, but didn't know that they were going to try and kill Michael. But that don't matter. His stupidity set Michael up. So, Michael cuts him off, tells the guy nobody kills Fredo, and while my mom's still alive, because he don't want to take another kid away from his mother. She's already dealt with the death of Sonny. So that's on hold for most of the movie. And so we've got the dude in Vegas that tried to have Michael killed. But then there's also this older guy that wants money from Michael to do something. Can't even remember what their plan is. Something about this foreign place. They're going to do some stuff there, but Michael's afraid the rebels are going to win and blah, blah, blah. And then we find out he's kind of betraying Michael because of one of the guys Michael took out in the first movie. So Michael puts up an assassination on him and this other guy that's betraying him. Both of them fail. And then now Michael, like the cops have turned those guys and they're testifying against Michael to send him to jail for, I guess, conspiracy, being the head of the Corleone crime family. But the one guy that could put Michael away, the guy they tried to strangle to death, that they failed, his testimony would be the one to put Michael away, and they fly his brother over from Italy just to sit in the courtroom with him. So he'll see that they have his brother, and he won't testify against Michael. And so the case falls apart. Michael goes free. During all this, we see the strife between him and Kay. They have kids, but Kay's not liking the way Michael's, how he's turned out. So she's pregnant again and then tells him she, had a miscarriage and it was a boy or whatever. They think it was a boy or all that jazz. And then come to find out she had an abortion and he knocks the shit out of her. I don't even think they faked it. It just looks too real. Like when he clobbers Diane Keaton, it just, I don't know, it looks like they just went for it for the scene. It's crazy. And of course she leaves. And then, Michael won't even talk to her and, be damned if she's going to take his kids from him and blah, blah, blah. And so we get all that and we get them taking out the people they messed up assassinating, convincing the one guy who's in like police custody, you didn't testify, kill yourself and your family will be taken care of. So he does and blah, blah, and all that. So that wraps that up. And then, of course, his mom passes away. So we have her funeral, which is kind of the coolest scene in the movie because we're having the funeral. Michael goes in there where Fredo is. He's cut Fredo off from the family, wouldn't talk to him. And he walks up to Fredo and hugs him. But as he's hugging him, he looks at the guy. And you can tell the guy knows, okay, he just gave the order. And so, right after that, Fredo's dead. So now, Pacino's taking out his own brother. Which I kind of agree with because it was Fredo's stupidity that got him set up. But I mean, the whole point of this is family, and he's having members of his own family killed, so I don't know. This movie, really goes, has Michael failing and doing some stuff you don't agree with quite a bit, it seems, but I don't know. Overall, I'd say the Michael stuff is awesome. I do like that portion of the movie. Seeing Al Pacino as the Godfather throughout is pretty awesome. I'll definitely give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I mean, really good. Definitely worth watching. You've seen the first one. This is definitely a good continuation. I wish there was less flashbacks, but it's not too bad with the flashbacks. I just don't care for going back that far, but it's kind of cool to see how Vito got established and all that, but definitely not my favorite Godfather and definitely not my favorite part of the movie. So, but totally great movie. I mean, definitely worth the watch. And now I'll move on to everybody's least favorite but mine, my second favorite, Godfather 3. The main complaint about Godfather 3 that I hear is Sofia Coppola, the director's daughter, is horrible in it, and it ruins the movie for him. Yes, she's horrible in it. I have to admit, this time while watching it, I was doing other things and I'd only hear her lines, and boy, do they fall flat. Yeah, she's horrible in it. But for me, everything else works. Not only does everything else work, I think it's like a really good conclusion to the story. Because Michael's almost come full circle to where he doesn't want to be what the family's being. He wants it all to be legit. He's working toward making it all legit. But in doing so, he's running into the dilemma that his father had. Because he's trying to, go through the Pope for a foundation his daughter can run and be completely legit, but the crime families want him to use that power for them. And he doesn't want that. He doesn't want this to be tainted by crime in any way because it's his daughters too. So just like Vito didn't want to use his power to protect drug dealers, Michael don't want to use his power to protect criminals either. So that's the dilemma we run into. Meanwhile, we got Joe Montana playing this mobster Zaza, who's kind of a gaudy character where, he's in the papers, on the news. He's the most famous mobster, wearing the good suits on TV and such. So, and Michael's trying to navigate all this without, it's kind of like Carlito's Way. He's trying to navigate all this without taking the crime route. Meanwhile, and this is where we go back to Sonny running around on his wife. Meanwhile, Sonny's illegitimate son, played by Andy Garcia, is trying to get in good with Michael, get in with the family, and Andy Garcia wants to take out all these people that's working against Michael. But just like in Carlito's Way, he doesn't want that to happen, and it ends up getting him in major trouble. Like if he would have just had Andy Garcia handle it, it'd be murder, but a lot of the bad things that happen further into the movie wouldn't have happened. So we see that Zaza doesn't like Garcia at all, and there's a really cool scene where Michael tries to get on the makeup, and Montana says something very offensive in Andy Garcia's ear, so Andy Garcia bites Joe Montana's ear. So there goes the peace between them ever happening. And, eventually they have a meeting with the heads of the family like Vito did in the first one. Zaza gets offended. Zaza has some people in a helicopter shoot every head of the family, but he manages not to get Garcia or Michael or this gangster guy that Zaza is really working for. This is convoluted too because on top of Zaza and the guy Zaza works for, Michael's also running in trouble with the Catholics because the Pope that was going to handle the deal is sick. Somebody poisoned him and he's dying. And if the new Pope comes on board, he might not be for Michael. So then they got to talk to the soon to be Pope. And Michael gets in good with him. That way, when he becomes Pope, Michael can get rid of the shady guys in the Catholic Church that's been doing shady shit. So we get that, go down that weird, convoluted road. And so then Michael has a stroke because he's diabetic and all the stress and stuff. And he goes to the hospital, and then him and Kay start kind of patching things up and getting back to almost where they were in the first movie. Because, Michael pretty much trying to go legit and just kind of being the guy he was in the first movie before he joined the family, and I don't know, it's just really, really cool seeing them two go back to the way things were. But then, of course, they get to Italy, and I think they find the bodyguard that tried to kill him, and somebody else gets killed. It's real convoluted, but I like it. I like the movie. But, so of course, Michael has to give this order to do something crazy, in the midst of him and Kay bonding and all that jazz. And then, because Michael didn't let Garcia handle everybody, now the guy that Zaza was working for has hired this hitman who never fails to kill Michael. And Kay and Michael are in Italy to watch Michael and Kay's son debut in this opera. and Michael hands over the family to Garcia. He's just like, I'm done with it. You take over. You deal with all this nonsense. And he makes Garcia the Godfather. And they all come there kissing his ring just like they did Michael in the first one. But the hitman don't know this. The hitman's still hired to kill Michael. So he's at the opera. They've given the mafia guy that hired the hitman, they gave him poison cannolis that he's eaten throughout the whole opera. So finally they take him out with the cannolis, but it's too late. He's already paid this hitman. So Garcia's running around dealing with something else. One of the people do find the hitman, and it looks like they've killed the hitman, but like the hitman had it staged to look that way so the guy would get close, and then come to find out the hitman wasn't the dead one. Their guy was, and he takes out this other guy. So now the hitman is like free to do his mission without anybody knowing he's there. And of course, once the opera lets out and all the madness ensues, the guy accidentally shoots Pacino's daughter, Sofia Coppola, the director's daughter in the movie, who throughout the movie was having a love affair with her cousin, who was Andy Garcia. But Michael told Andy Garcia, I'll make you the Godfather under one condition. You stay away from my daughter. And Garcia agrees, and to Garcia's credit, he was standing by that. He told her that it was over and couldn't be, and, it made me really respect Garcia's character. Completely flipped from the way Pacino and Scarface would have handled things, right? But, yeah, Garcia was, I don't know, to me, Garcia was the perfect mixture of Michael and Sonny. Like, he saw the business part of it, but he knew what needed to be done. But he was also loyal and level-headed and knew, if I'm going to run the family, can't be with Michael's daughter, she don't need to be brought into all this and put in danger. But, too late. What Michael neglected to do already put her in danger. So yeah, she gets taken out, and they, of course, get the hitman, and at that point, everybody but the hitman has been taken out already. So it's kind of like, well, now all the people are gone, but the damage is done. So then we get the sad ending where Pacino was sitting alone because I'm pretty sure losing a daughter turned Kay back against him, and he's sitting there in the chair all by his lonesome and falls on the ground dead. And that is the end of the Michael Corleone saga. But for me, him trying to go legit while Garcia's trying to hold the family together, and him knowing what needs to be done but not wanting to do it, and how all that works out. Like, him trying to do the right thing gets, bad things to happen and tragedy to befall his family. I just think that's really good. Yeah, Sofia Coppola is really, really weak in this movie, but, she went on to be like award-winning director, so, I mean, acting just wasn't her thing, but she's not really ruinous to it. She's not in it that much. Yeah, I mean, just to me, really awesome continuation of the story, a really good ending to the story. It bookends the start of Michael and the end of Michael as the head of the Corleone family quite nicely. And yeah, like I would watch 1, 2, and 3 all as one movie if either they got rid of the flashbacks in 2 or put the flashbacks at the beginning of part 1 like I've heard they've done, where it runs just in order. So, I don't know. But yeah, I never watched 1 and 3 without watching 2. I mean, you got to get that middle in. So, even though 1 is my favorite, 3 is my second favorite, 2 is my third favorite, I still watch them all every time I decide to watch Godfather. So, if you're going to watch any of them, watch all of them. For me, some people stop at 2 and pretend 3 don't exist. I think that's silly, you know. the story has an ending, and I mean, it's a legit ending. I mean, maybe Garcia never really would have been able to take over because he was a bastard, but they say from here on out you're going to be called Corleone. So, Michael as the Godfather has the power to overrule that. So, members of his family will probably have problems with it and come after him. It'd be cool to get that. Like, they'll make a sequel where Garcia's, you know, future, but maybe he's too old now. I don't know. But yeah, for me, 1 and 3 definitely. One's 5 star, two's 3.5. I've got to give 3 4 at least, maybe 4.5. I don't know. I just really do like 3. Um, but I mean, as a trilogy, 5 stars. I mean, it's just if you consider it all one story, they're all worth it. You got to watch them all. Um, Definitely my favorite gangster anything. I love it better than Goodfellas. Don't really care for Goodfellas. Not the biggest Scorsese fan. Like Casino better than Goodfellas. I do like Godfather better than Scarface, but I would definitely put Scarface right under Godfather. Definitely above Goodfellas. But then again, I'd put a Bronx Tale above Goodfellas. But yeah, I mean, Godfather, classics. All three of them to me are. Um, if you like Pacino, if you like mafia stuff, if you like great characters and character development, definitely give it a watch. Definitely. But anyway, that is it for the Godfather review. I want to thank you for tuning in. I know this was a long one, but I haven't, put up a video in a while, so I didn't want to split them up. So appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.